Gentrification is when the rise of land values in a city draws a wealthier population to that area. This influx of wealth causes an economic boom and infrastructure growth in the area. This isn't necessarily a bad change. However, when this happens in a lower income community, people can be displaced and they no longer can afford to live in that area.
It was originally introduced in a way that was thought to be positive, meaning when urban gentry was coming, basically people were bringing income to places that didn't have it and had suffered disinvestment. And so all the kind of problems that low-income neighbors would suffer accumulate, and having people come in who are making some investment and who are more likely to attract good services and get the attention of officialdom and that sort of thing can be a positive thing. Of course, this is associated with the other things you talked about, rising land values, and typically then rising rents, which for low-income people who mostly have their homes by virtue of renting means that they can ultimately be pushed out.
So gentrification, it's a controversial topic in urban planning and urban renewal, you might say. In general terms, it means the arrival of wealthier people in an existing urban district. Positive and negative attributes. It's mostly viewed as negative, though some of the positives would be reduced crime in the neighborhood, new investment and new buildings and infrastructure, also increased economic activity in the neighborhood. But with that comes the negative aspects that you could call it the injustice, because the benefits are disproportionately enjoyed by the newcomers, while the established residents find themselves economically and socially marginalized.
This is ultimately a function of the fact that we have a tremendous disparity in income distribution in this country. We've always had a fairly skewed income distribution, but in the last 35 years, that has become really acute, with the top of the income scale making many times what people at the lower end make, and a variety of policies, mostly from the federal government on taxes and other things, have really pushed these things apart.
So a lot of development or redevelopment that's going on is along the transportation corridors. For example, I can tell you here in Arlington, a lot of new development went along the metro corridors. You have areas like Boston, Clarendon, Morehouse, Roslyn, Crystal City that have boomed due to the fact that metro is right there in place. And so all this development that went on and that has gone up, definitely has brought up housing prices, rent increases, and so there has been displacement due to that.
Market power varies very dramatically, and when you into that environment, you introduce changes that lead to more desirability for particularly urban neighborhoods, more densely, compactly developed places that were the very places that were abandoned in the 50s, 60s, 70s. Those suddenly becoming desirable, well, the income will then drive the prices, and you can have displacement. Transit becoming not just something for the poor, as it has been viewed for decades, but something that's part of the lifestyle people want, then you change that whole market demand dynamic, and you wind up with rising values for places that formerly accommodated people of lower income in many cases. And so, that's where this issue of displacement starts to become acute. But we found that if you don't build in policies for community preservation, retaining affordable housing, then you won't have every part of the community benefiting from what is otherwise a good thing, rise in value of the community and new investment and new opportunities and so on.